Hello and
Okay.
welcome to Heart of the Matter. And it's a beautiful, beautiful time to have here again with Ahmed. And thank you for joining me. And I'd also just want to recommend that if you haven't checked out his channel, Planetary Intelligence, then please go over and check it out because there's some great podcasts on there that he's just recently been sharing. And one of them is from Connection Festival. So thank you for doing that, Ahmed. Thank you. And welcome,
Pleasure.
brother. Yeah, I just wanted to also just say that tonight's topic is going to be about love and mysticism. So yeah, looking forward to how the chat goes. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Um, well, first we have to, I mean, everyone knows, well, we think everyone knows what love is. One of the greatest mysteries of the human experience. Love. And nobody likes to talk about love because you can't really describe it in words, and poets have tried. I mean, artists have tried. There is nothing really that can be expressed artistically. You can to a certain degree, I guess, but love is such uh, a taboo subject for me to talk about because it goes beyond words. And how am I meant to communicate to you with language if language is not even good enough for the feeling of love? And I say feeling as well because I don't think love is an emotion. I think there's a difference between feelings and emotions. Um, and to distinguish that as well is one important thing of discovering what love is. So I mean, where do you start? I mean, when you talk about emotions, if so, emoting is for me anyway, things like anger, things like jealousy, things like uh sadness, uh pain, what else? Happiness, those are emotions. When I talk about things like joy and love, uh and when you talk about going into your intuition, right? Those are feelings because you're feeling things. It's like a well, feeling is language, where emotion is more of an expressive state that possesses your consciousness and blinds you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. It is again. It's just distinguishing between the two, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, I
Mhm.
think that's where you hear the term emotional intelligence. To be emotionally intelligent is not an easy thing to attain. Most people aren't emotionally intelligent. In fact, they lack emotional intelligence. That's why most of the time their lives are run off through emotional reactions. Everything is reactive. They're the effect and not the cause most of the time, uh, throughout their lives. And it's sad to see. It really is sad to see. Uh, so yeah, it's this distinguishing emotion and feeling. And feeling is like you say, like when you feel a vibration of someone, when you feel a vibe of someone, that's a feeling.
Mm,
I get the feeling that when you say I get the feeling that, that's not an emotion. That's a feeling. So
mm,
there's a difference between the two,
mhm.
where emotion has a overriding mechanism to our, in a way, it blinds the heart and it blinds the mind too. Not
Yeah.
saying that emotions are not valid,
Mm,
but it's knowing how to express. Okay, so say for example, you have grief and sadness because of somebody's death. That's something we all have to deal with in life. Everyone dies. A loved one will have to die one day ahead of us, and we have to deal with that grief of of their uh of their departure from our own experience. And in a way, when we talk about grieving, we're actually grieving for ourselves. They've gone on. They're not they're not crying. They just realize, hey, oh great, I'm finally out of this, flesh suit, I'm gonna reincarnate or whatever. They're off. They're gone. That story of that person that you knew with that name, that's ended. That was it. That was their life, and that there was the death of the body, and not the soul. Because the soul doesn't die. There's no such thing as death. The only thing that dies is the finite body that we ride. We get transported on. We journey on.
Yeah.
So coming back to love. So love is a feeling, but it's a feeling that for me encompasses everything. And for me, love, when you feel the love, you are this is what the Sufis like to talk about, because Sufis see God as love. Ultimately, if I was to summarize Sufism is seeing God as love. But at the same time, Sufism is a mystic path. So what is mysticism? Mysticism is ultimately becoming one with source or with God. That's what mysticism is. So that's the definition of mysticism. So love and mysticism go hand in hand. They're a pair that are inseparable. You cannot be a mystic without love, and you can't you can't be a mystic without love, and you can't love without having some mysticism in your life. Because when you realize, so the mystics, the Sufi mystics realized that what we call God, or what we call source, or the oversoul, right, is love. They called it him, her, whatever you pronoun you want to use to define the infinite, right? They called it the beloved, or my beloved. And there were a lot of criticism by certain Christian mystics, so-called Christian mystics, that criticized Sufism for self-deification, because they say, well, I'm God. But how can you say that? You're just a human being. How dare you say you're God? If that makes sense. How dare you say that? That's self-deification. But what they didn't understand is that they saw that God was within them.
Yeah.
The true Christian mystics will also see the same thing. The thing is, we put labels in front of it. Christian, Sufi, Buddhist, this, that. But mysticism is becoming one with God. So it actually does away with religion altogether. It doesn't even need it. I can be a pagan mystic. I can be any title before mystic. But the moment you put mystic in there, you are saying you are becoming one with source, with the oversoul, with God, whatever you want to label it as.
Yeah.
Right? So that's where people get confused about using that label of love, because the way we've been taught what love is based on conditions.
Yeah.
So most people have relationships, first start dating, and they, oh, that's the one, and you hear it all the time. It's such a cliche nowadays, but yeah, they start dating. Oh, she's amazing, I love her, we're so in love, and within a month they split up. And you think, well, that's clearly not love, and you clearly don't know what love is, because you're basing your love based on your projection of your anima or your animus, or you're basing it off what your parents taught you what love is. that it needs to be love needs to be validated via an action or via a behavior that is approved by the partner or whoever you are in relationship with.
Yeah.
So the thing is, ultimately, if you are in conflict with yourself, then every other relationships you will find conflict, because you will be projecting what's already in you onto others. If you had a traumatizing relationship, you know, in the past, and you meet somebody in the present who reminds you of that person in the past, you're projecting that person in the past into that person. Sorry, into that individual, right? So that's also a self-deception to yourself, because you're projecting. Does that make sense? You know, so like,
yeah.
You may associate somebody's face to somebody's face in the past. I don't know. Have you ever met people along the way and think, oh, that person that individual reminded me of somebody that I knew as a kid, or
Yeah.
I met 20 years ago, whatever.
Certain
Right?
traits that they may have. Yeah.
They have certain facial traits, because you know, it's what Santos Bonacci talks about. You know, when he brought on a guest who actually found common facial features to every sun sign, like star sign, wherever. So Sagittarius is, they have a certain type of face. A Gemini will have a certain type of face. A Libran will have a certain type of face. Aquarius, it will have these sort of common traits, let's just say. So that's the issues. Once we are projecting, we're not really loving. So the best way to talk about love is to talk about what love isn't. so I think that for me is how I would approach love, because, you know, if we talk about it from a psychological perspective, psychiatrists, psychologists will leave that alone. That's like, we can't talk about love in that we can't break it down. We can't break it down for you, because how can you break down the most incredible feeling that you'll ever experience in the human experience?
Yeah.
Or in the soul experience, you know, the most incredible experience the heart can ever feel. You know, we know it's felt here, we know it's felt in the center of our hearts, but to describe it, you can't really give it a description, can you?
No, it goes beyond words.
It goes beyond words. The purest type of love that you can see is between, you know, mother and child, or father and child, providing obviously the parents are healthy, you know, mentally. So it's something that's a given. I think that when I get rid of my story as my identity as Amed, and you can love everyone this way, by the way, and love doesn't have to be, oh, come into my life and I'll look after you and nurture you and everything. Love can be just it can be just given freely, if that makes sense. You can love thy neighbor. You can love the homeless man or woman on the street, you know, and give them love. Doesn't mean that you have to be responsible for them and pick them up. And, well, you can do if you want to, and if that's what you feel called to do. But ultimately, love is, there is no condition in love. Through the eyes of love, the heart and mind is one. You know, there is no separation there. And it's a will of unconditional love. When you're in that state, you're not even in thought. You're without thought. Thought doesn't exist in the state of love.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's what we were saying earlier about, for me, being non-judgmental, the thoughts that go on within.
Yeah.
It's being still, just not judging.
Yeah, judging your own thoughts, just observing them, seeing them, no judgment. In fact, just leaving them alone is good. Leaving them alone, because if thoughts are always triggered because of lack of love in ourselves. I'm talking about negative thoughts, thoughts that actually are not serving us day to day. It's the what ifs and the have nots that we do, and the lack thoughts, that we're all kind of tapping into from the ether, from the adversary that we call AIX or Satan or whatever you want to label it as, right? The adversary. And I think that is actually a beautiful thing, because when we say evil, vul, not vil, right? Because that will be live backwards, but vul. So it's actually love backwards. Evil is love backwards, not live backwards, even though it's spelt differently. But evil is the opposite of love. It's the absence of love.
Yeah.
That's what evil is. Where there is no love, that's what evil is. That's how you identify evil, because there's no love in evil. It's the opposite of love. And why is it there? Because it's the adversary to love. How would you know? Again, we live in a dual realm. We live in a dual experience. So we have to have the adversary to know what love is. We've got to know the absence of it to know what love is. Without its, in a way, love is its opposite mirror. So you can see it. That's why people won't tolerate evil, because they're more on the side of love. Others, no, they encourage evil, which makes you see that they are not on the side of love. Do I abuse my body every day? I'm not loving myself. I'm being evil to myself. If I'm abusing my body with drugs and alcohol and things like that, that is an expression of evil. You're committing evil. So that's just evil in its lesser form. Yes, when you talk about the more darker aspects, like child abuse and wars and things like that, rape and so on. Yes, those are evil too, really evil. But in the end, it's the same thing. It's just different varying degrees of the same thing.
Yeah, because they're just again, like you're saying, it's all about everything being dualistic.
Yep. Yeah. If you lose the okay, so we have a new kind of spirituality that's coming out, that's talking about non-dualism. Now, I have an issue, not an issue, but I have a thing about it, because I when someone says be non-dual, then you're leaving out duality altogether, right? But the contradiction in that is, when you're non-dual, aren't you marrying the two dualities together?
It's like, again, isn't it? It's
So
just,
how is it none?
Yeah, but that's it, Ahmed. It's for me, it's like, we know what goes on within us, and in that dualistic, mind that we live in, and how can I put it to you? But it's finding the middle ground in it. Once you find that middle ground, that middle ground, then obviously that helps.
Yep.
To balance you out more. Yeah,
absolutely. It's what you call the alchemical marriage.
Yeah.
But for things to be married, you need the two opposites, male and female, positive, negative.
Yeah.
When you say non-dual, you're saying, well, I'm beyond that. I'm beyond the duality. So what exactly is that? What is it? What is non-dual? It doesn't even exist.
Mm.
Because then you're saying there's no duality. When you're saying non-dual, there's no duality. But hold on a minute, you have a body.
Yeah. And you know, again, you know, we could go there with, if you look at nature and you look at all the seasons, you know, it's all dualistic. You know,
Yeah.
if you start to observe these things and see, you know, with how can just trying to find the right word for it, the bigger picture, you know.
Yep.
You know, again, you know, how those, you know, and we you know, we talk about the five elements, you know, as well, which is our
Yep.
fire, air, water, earth, and soul, basically, you know. So
Yeah.
okay, it's all dualistic. It's
It is.
you cannot but help see it in nature. And you know, we say that we're not separated from nature. We are nature, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we are nature, and nature is our best teacher,
Mm.
because we've lost so much knowledge and so much has been corrupted in our way of thinking. That's why when we talk about things like mysticism, you know, this is the thing when people hear about shamanism. Shamanism is mysticism. They're one and the same thing. They're just different labels, but they're both ultimately the same thing. They're one and the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you're becoming one with the source. You're becoming, when I say one as well, it's like you're connecting with that soul essence of you. There is no access to the infinite within you without connecting to your soul. Your soul is the microcosm of God, of
Yeah.
source.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We're all little microcosms of source walking around on this in this realm.
Hmm.
Well, most people don't realize it, but it's those who have come alive.
Hmm.
Let's just say those who are truly alive, because we live in zombie land right now, and that's the truth. That to me is the truth. I mean, it's a fact for me now. It's so obvious to see,
Hmm.
because most people are living are not living. They're not living. They're just not living. They're given a life that the system has given them.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be truly alive, you walk the road less traveled,
Yeah.
or you walk upon the path nobody else has walked upon.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult because, you know, we're conditioned in such a way that we can't think of creative ways to make money, because money gives you freedom in this system anyway, unless you found somewhere out in the sticks and you've become completely off-grid and self-sufficient, which is a different story altogether. But
Hmm.
if you are wanting to interact with civilization and the civilized world, well, you do need money, and money ultimately is what gives you freedom. That's why the elite have it, we don't. But that's besides the point. You can still be free, and you can be in a cell. It's a state of being. It's a state of love, really. Imagine how far you can go with your imagination alone, even though you're sitting in a cell. You can go to so many worlds just through your imagination and travel
Yeah.
to so many different places just with purely your imagination.
Yeah.
So it is a sense of, well, it is ultimately love. How can I reach a place within myself where I allow myself to feel and be conscious of my feelings while I'm in the presence of others and while I'm alone or in solitude, let's just say. And whilst in solitude, I don't feel alone because I'm already with everyone. Because if my soul is connected to the infinite, that means it's connected to everyone. I'm not saying you're ultimately going to be alone, but what I'm saying is that's
Yeah.
when you're in a state of love, of self-love,
Hmm.
there is no loneliness. It doesn't exist.
Yeah. So
Lunacy only exists where there's evil. That's where the lunacy comes in.
hmm.
The insanity, the unsane, as Michael Tsarion likes to call it, the unsane. Yeah, you want to be unsane, then yeah, don't love yourself and do things not to love yourself. And ultimately, you always see this self-saboteur in everybody, that whether it's through food and destroying their own health, or whether it's through addictions, or whether it's through abuse, or having a master-slave relationship with others, always trying to be the master over others, and for others to be their slave.
Yeah.
So, and it's also how you're pushed as well to a certain degree by others. People will ask you politely for something, but you can be in business with somebody and they could abuse you in the sense of abuse your time. You're not getting paid, but they're asking you to do this favor and that favor. And if you're allowing it to happen and say, well, actually, that's not my contract with you is finished. I'm going. That's for you to do. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
How much boundaries, healthy boundaries, are you able to put down in front of people as well to show up for yourself?
Yeah.
No one's going to show up for you and defend you. You've got to do it.
Yeah. You've got to do what you feel's morally right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, morality has its limits because one person's morality is another person's evil.
Again, it's, how can I put it?
Because morally, somebody who wears a mask and feels they're protecting somebody is doing something that's morally correct according to their paradigm and their worldview. That's morality. They're being moral because they're being conscious of others, but that's there is a limit to morality. Do you see what I mean here?
Yeah. Yeah, it goes beyond.
Yeah. It's what's loving and what is not.
Yeah.
But to identify love, you've got to live it. You've got to experience it. And you cannot reach a state of love without suffering. You have to go through suffering and pain and come out through the other side to realize it, to the point of insanity,
Yeah.
And I think there is something about being on the edge of madness that allows you to become sane. Does that make sense? It's like love is mad. When you say I'm madly in love with you, there is something about love that's mad. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you, yeah. Love can make you do all sorts of things.
Yeah, it can blind. Love is blind. Love can blind you.
All sorts of things. Yeah,
It can. Love has its dangers as well, right?
It's a bit, again, isn't it? Again, yeah. It's the whole balancing act again, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
For
knowing how
sure.
to love rightly from the heart, from the center point of yourself, from the center point of the soul, really. And that's what the Sufis were able to do. They were able to reach these states of consciousness where they're able to completely wipe away their identity and self-image to allow the eternal or the divine to come through them.
But that makes sense though, because that's something that I, my experience is that I'm more than the ego.
Yeah.
Now when I say that, they're words, but it goes beyond the words that are coming out of my mouth.
It's the observer.
I know this. Yeah, it goes.
There's an observer behind your ego, right? That sees
it's almost like I know there's more to me than just the persona.
Yeah.
This. Yeah, and that's a good thing that I'm searching for that. In my life.
Seek and you shall find.
That's it.
It's there. It's there. You just got to see it.
Just got to keep on.
Time.
It takes
time to see it, but you're able to see it. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's within you. It's within us all if we take the time and care and love to do it.
To do it, yeah.
Because through that experience, we're able to individualize and become truly alive, and then we're able to have healthy relationships with others. Otherwise it will just repeat over and over and over again. You know.
Yeah, and this is it. You know, it's like, how can you, I mean, it's the hardest thing to express the inner world sometimes. It really, really is. But
Well, that's what makes it sacred, Kelvin.
yeah, it really, really is, you
Michael
know.
Tsarion talks about this too. There's certain things that you got to keep for yourself, because once you share it, the sacredness goes. You know,
Yeah,
your relationship with the divine, or with the source, or with God, or whatever you want to label it as, it's sacred. It's truly sacred.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
very personal. Somebody asked me the other day, a friend of mine says, you know, how do you see God? And I'm like, it's very personal. I can't really talk about it.
Yeah, this is it. You know, how do you put
But
that
know
in?
that I see it. Know that I know that it's there.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean,
And
or
it's felt.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
You know,
that's it for me. It's like, all I know is that, you know, I wake up in the morning, you know, I don't like using the word wake, actually.
and
Greet the,
rising morning,
yeah, greet the morning, you know, and then,
rising.
yeah,
Yeah,
rising, you know, and
yeah,
then, you know, at the end of that day, you know, I go over some of the things for that day, and, you know, I'm being thankful for those things, just even the simplest things, you know, in my life. But it's like my soul's crying out, you know, in conversation with my inner self, you know. Yeah, that's how I feel, you know. At the end of my day, that's what I want to do, is have that inner dialogue with myself, you know.
yeah,
And then and after I've done that, just to then be still and just see what comes from that stillness.
yeah. I don't think it's stillness as much as it is silence for me.
Yeah,
Because there's still motion in there somewhere for me. That's why I don't really use the word stillness that much.
yeah,
I tend to
yeah.
use silence.
Silence. Yeah, that's a.
Yeah,
I would agree. That's a much better way of. Yeah,
yeah.
just silent. Yeah.
Because there's once that silence takes over, and
Mm,
you're able to quieten the thoughts and the mind,
mm,
then you go into feeling.
mm.
Then you're able to feel everything, and you
Yeah.
allow yourself to feel, because what the thoughts do, or the active thought thinking mind, what it does is it distracts you from the heart and the feeling of your body.
Mm. That makes. Yeah.
Does that
That
make sense? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. 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 Because our brain. Well, I know when I get up in the morning, you know, some mornings it might not be so bad, but other mornings my brain could be racing with certain things, you know, and I just know that I just need to
yeah,
sit down and just have that, like you said, that time of silence, you know, and all of that just then just just goes, you know, and
yep.
like you said, and then you start going into just feeling, and you know, you're just focusing on your breathing, and you know, that helps me. Just even if I do 2 or 3 minutes a morning of breath work, all these little things.
It gives your nervous system a great
Yeah,
start to the day.
steadies
You
the
know,
mind, steadies it all. Yeah.
a cold, you know, a cold. It doesn't have to be a full body. You could just put your
Mm,
head into cold water.
mm.
If you're not feeling great, just go and get some cold water and splash it into your face.
Yeah, I've done that.
It will change your mood
Yeah,
instantly.
yeah,
Um,
it's amazing you're saying that, brother,
yeah,
because I've done that, and it
yeah,
does. When you do that, it just seems to liven you up more. You
yeah.
know? Yeah, yeah.
Water is a healer. It's the
Mm,
feminine, you know, it's the
mm,
feminine
mm,
element. Um, you know, these elements are there to be used, and we can charge even the water with singing bowls and things like that. You
mm,
know, we can charge the water, put water into a singing bowl, and just charge it with the
mm,
frequency.
mm.
Um, but ultimately, you know, we've seen the effects of water with the language we use, you know,
Yeah.
and the structure, the what's the formation of the structure of the crystals when well, we know it's that famous Japanese who done the experiment. I think everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there in ourselves, because we're mostly water, our bodies are. So whatever, when we get up in the rising and we start our day, if we're not feeling great because we didn't sleep that well the night before, you can still change the energy of your body through breath work, through movement, change that mood, because you might feel that grogginess.
Yeah.
But you need to shake it off, because you've got to get on with the day. You can't make up for the sleep because you've got things to do. So what you do is embrace it, but just change the way you start your day. If you start your day negatively, the whole day will be negative. You're already setting your reality tunnel to manifest into this sort of negative default dungeon programming, as Jason Bashir's like to call it. You get into this dungeon reality, as opposed to, because sometimes lack of sleep might be breaking pattern, through that, if that makes sense. You can use that. For me, I find that tiredness, I'm able to be very creative, because when the mind is tired, you're more open. If that makes sense. You're a lot more open.
Yeah.
Where when you're rested, you're more active, you're more engaged. So yeah, there's things you can reach in yourself, which is, through, and this is what's so beautiful about coming back to mysticism. So there's something here I want to share, if I may.
Absolutely.
And, so this is from this book here called The Persian Mystics, and this is part of the introduction, and I thought it was quite beautiful.
Can I just ask you something? Is that a book that you can easily manage to get hold of, or is it a very difficult
I found
one?
this in an old bookstore, charity bookstore. It's published in 1912.
Okay.
It's called The Persian Mystics. This one is like the first part, and it's written by Hadland Davis.
Okay.
And he was the author of In the Valley of Stars, There is a Tower of Silence.
Okay.
It sounds like a book I want to read. Published in London. This is a London published book. But yeah, I like old books that are no longer. I mean, if you can find it, do let me know.
Yeah. Well, what we'll do, we'll do is we'll stick it below for the viewers.
Yeah.
Anyway, because you never know, someone might want a copy of it, and might be able to search it out from somewhere. So we'll do that anyway for the viewers. But
yeah, I mean, this is written by a Western, a British author. So it's great to see books like these, especially in Sufism, because Sufism has a lot of let's just say Neoplatonism within it.
Okay.
Because I did when I did a podcast with Jason, he was talking about how much the West owes a debt of gratitude to the Arabs and the Middle Easterners, basically, for preserving a lot of not just the history, but the Western traditions and spiritual traditions.
So that'd be all sort of like the ancient texts and stuff that were around. Yeah.
So because Sufism, I wouldn't really even define as Islam. I was raised, like I said, I was raised as a Muslim, though no longer part of that cult. But when you read into Sufism, you can't really define it as you can't. But somehow they got away with it.
Yeah,
they got away from being persecuted by the Muslims.
It's amazing how you, I'll just have to say this: how you come across this amazing, books that you come across and you find and stuff, and for me, I'm here this evening learning something completely new. So thank you for sharing this.
Well, this is hopefully, if you can find this book, do let me know. I would love to, please comment below if you managed to find this book elsewhere, because apparently there's more parts to this. This is like one of the parts. This is part one. This one's about Rumi, but the introduction is beautiful. So I wanted to share some of this. So according to the Sufis regarded the existence of the soul as prenatal. Moreover, that the full perception of earthly beauty was the remembrance of that supreme beauty in the spiritual world. So now we're talking about nature. Earthly beauty is the remembrance of that supreme beauty in the spiritual world.
Mm-hmm.
The body was the veil, but by ecstasy, Hal, the soul, could behold the divine mysteries. As Avicenna in his poem on the soul has written, "Lo, it was hurled midst the signposts and ruined abodes of this desolate world. It weeps when it thinks of its home and the peace it possessed, with tears welling forth from its eyes without pausing or rest. And with plaintive mourning it broodeth like one bereft over such trace of its home as the fourfold winds have left." Creation was regarded as the output of the all-beautiful. The visible world and all therein was a reflection of the divine, an ever-changing scene full of the Spirit of God. The following beautiful poem of Jami from Yusuf az-Zulaykha will illustrate the Sufis' conception of the beloved, because this is what they call the divine or the eternal or God. Its significance and relationship to his world of lovers. No mirror to reflect its loveliness, nor comb to touch its locks. The morning breeze never stirred its tresses, no collyrium lent lustre to its eyes, no rosy cheeks overshadowed by dark curls like hyacinth, nor peach-like down were there. To itself it sang of love in wordless measure. By itself it cast the die of love. One gleam fell from it on the universe, and on the angels, and this single ray dazzled the angels till their senses whirled like the revolving sky. In diverse forms each mirror showed it forth, and everywhere its praise was chanted in new harmonies. The spirits who explore the depths of boundless seas, wherein the heavens swim like some small boat, cried with one mighty voice, "Praise to all that is the universe. Its beauty everywhere doth show itself, and through the forms of earthly beauties shines, obscured as through a veil. Wherever thou seest a veil, beneath that veil he hides. Whatever heart doth yield to love, it charms it. In his love the heart hath life, longing for it the soul hath victory." Man was therefore a part of God because he was a fragment of the whole, or better still, he was a divine emanation. So I'm going to end it there.
Wow.
This is, some of the things that are said in this book about Sufism, and it's what we're talking about today. This is published in 1912, and we're talking about it today.
Yeah.
Because, we're all saying, we're part of the source. We're all parts of it, fragments of the whole. Indeed, we are. And also, we are the whole of it once we are able to go into that silence. It's able to come through fully. And we're able to experience what people call God. And that's what mysticism is.
It actually reminds me of an old Depeche Mode song, actually, "Enjoy the Silence." But yeah, absolutely. It's that simple, isn't it? Enjoy the silence. Yeah. But for me, when you were sharing that, it was like poetry in motion. It's very poetic, I found.
Well, you have to use art. I think
Beautiful.
that's what Michael Tsarion talks about.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean, even
beautiful.
Jason Breshears, when he
Yeah.
uses art in the
Mm,
way he writes
mm,
as well. I think
mm,
art is really our ultimate expression
yeah.
to what's within our souls, and I
Mm,
think
mm,
without it, there's no way we can express it and bring more beauty into the world.
mm,
You know, yes, nature is beautiful, but how can we complement nature through our own hands? We have hands to create with. We are creator beings.
mm,
We are the microcosm of the of creation.
yeah.
So we will never be fulfilled unless we create in this life, and most people do not create.
Mm. So we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. Is that would
Yep,
that yeah?
yep.
And as
Just as
above,
the Hermetic teachings
yeah,
say,
as above, so below.
as above, so below.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
what is in the macro is in the micro.
yeah, yeah. Mm,
And this is timeless truths. These
yeah.
are not even truths, but these are universal laws.
Mm,
You know, some people call it hermetic, but it's not even hermetic. It's
mm,
universal. It's
mm,
universal.
yeah.
Something that transcends all religions, because
Mm,
no religion of its right sanity would not have these universal laws in it.
yeah.
No one
Yeah. I mean,
saint.
I think another word
Yeah,
for it is it natural law? Is another word that people use as well,
yeah.
natural
Natural
law
law
as
is
well. I
nature.
mean, I
Nature.
look at it as nature, this,
Yeah,
yeah, you just
nature.
knowing, yeah,
Nature, universal,
yeah,
whatever you like to
what
label it as.
label it as, yeah,
Uni means one.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, one
yeah,
verse, the
mm,
one word.
yeah,
Everything in the Bible, in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God. That's basically what it's saying to you.
yeah, yeah,
Is the word is vibration, it's
mm,
sound,
yeah,
and everything has a frequency and vibration, and we are that vibration. The soul is a vibration. This is a unique fingerprint. Just in the physical expression of our bodies, do we have a swirl
mm,
on the fingertips and on the digits of our toes, right?
yeah,
We have those
yeah,
swirls.
yeah. Wow, it's funny you saying that actually because I was chatting with Alison the other day and she talked about an old pagan symbol and it's a swirl, one of the old pagan symbols.
One of the
But
oldest symbols that ever
yeah,
exist.
yeah, it's
And look
interesting.
at your own
Yeah,
fingerprint. It's
and
there.
it's there on yeah. Isn't that funny? We
Yeah.
were talking about
If
that
you
the other
think
day.
about it, that's where
Yeah,
energy comes through.
yeah.
Your energy comes,
Mm-hmm.
when you ground with your feet and the earth,
Mm,
you're energetically, these are energy outlets
mm,
and inlets.
yeah,
That's why we're able to feel with these fingers. We need these fingers to
mm,
feel through things,
mm, mm,
you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, swirls. There
yeah.
is there is a
Mm,
swirl, and that's the thing. The more that's a
mm,
if you look at, like, when you look at hypnotic patterns, the classic one is the swirl, the
yeah.
spinning swirl,
Mm,
right? And
mm,
when you spin it, it's endless, right? It
yeah.
feels like it's continuously going into infinity.
Yes. Like the infinity symbol, even. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the infinity symbol,
Symbol,
but
but
the
it's
swirl is the older infinity symbol.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Would you say that is one of the oldest symbols? Would you say
Oh
the
yeah, for
swirl
sure.
one?
The
Yeah.
swirl, one of
Mm,
the oldest for sure.
wow.
Like, when we
Yeah.
look into
Mm,
uh archaeological evidence, especially in because all the pagan, what we call pagan anyway, and I don't like to use the word pagan because
mm,
people, that's something that was given a label to
mm,
by the Catholic Church.
yeah. Hmm.
Uh and basically those who established institutionalized religion to use it as a form of brainwashing.
Mm,
So I don't like to use the word pagan because
mm,
it's not the right label, I guess,
yeah.
even though you can use it, because the
Mm,
word peg isn't pagan, right? Peg.
yeah.
Um, but I don't think that's what they were. They weren't, because when you say pagan, that means that they do not believe in the divine. They
Mm,
do not see the divine.
mm, mm,
And that's the biggest misnomer you can, and mislabeling you can ever use for
yeah.
those who we call pagans, because they were far more closer to what you call source and God,
Yeah.
then the sad excuse we have for religious religious people today who follow religions, because they use nature, and what more purer than nature can there be to make it into your temple, a place of worship. To nature.
Yeah, because I remember Michael Tsarion, he said, for all other religions was nature, basically,
Yeah.
And you sort of think, really, that's obviously what was there. It's really simple when you just see it for what it is. It was your religion before all other religions, nature.
Yeah. Native Americans, they called it the Great Spirit, but the Great Spirit is manifested in nature. If we're looking for its physical form, nature is it. It's spirit manifest.
Yeah,
that's what Michael Tsarion talks about as well.
Yeah.
That's what I love when he said that, because it's such a beautiful way to actually frame it. Because when you see it, you really do, and you say, because when I look at nature, I see the purest version of myself. I can't project anything pretty much negative into nature. Well, you can, but as in, like, you can't project your worldly problems onto nature. It's like that's why I like nature and neuter, the neutral field. It's neutral. Nature is a neutral field. You need a neutral wire for there to be currents or energy to move. If you don't have the middle, the neutral, then you're going to burn up. So that's what I love about nature. Nature is spirit, is the Great Spirit, the simulacrum, as Jason calls it, which he sees as the expression of the oversoul, which is, it's the same thing, label, basically. So nature is that, and we are nature, like you said. And coming back to that, love's expression is in us, in our creation, if we take the time to look at our bodies and look at the miracle that we are experiencing, it is a miracle. It is a miracle. It's a miracle every day that I breathe, that I'm able to have new experiences, that I'm able to manifest my own reality. Once you see that you are the immortal soul within, right? The eternal soul, and you're able to be the one to create an author and write your life as you see it, as you want to see it, by creating it every day through our imagination and through our actions, with our intentions. And that's a miracle. That's magic right there. And that's what humanity has lost. They've lost that magic. They've lost that childlike wonder, to create. Children know how to play every day. They're wonderful at doing it. My 6-year-old son, he's able to create games just like that. With his imagination. Because I do my best to not get him to rely too much on screens, and find a way to entertain himself through the physical world, because he's got to get that every other time, when he's not with me. And so when you're able to tap into that, he reminds me of my ability, so then I come up with creative things to play. And life should be about play. Really, it should be about play. You should be playing every day. And if you're not having fun playing, then change it. Find something to enjoy. And if it's not earning you, if you're getting money and it's destroying your soul, then get rid of it, because your soul is priceless. You do not want your soul to die. So make sure you find ways to do it. And what better way than to nurture your creativity, and to do that through your creativity.
Yeah.
And if we're not using our art, if there's no art in our lives, I think we lose a lot in our experience, you know, especially for our soul experience here on this realm.
I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, what better way than to use that creative part of us, you know? I mean, yeah, it's lovely, you know, when you've done you know, you share something on your other channel, which is your poetry sort of stuff, and I've sat down and I've listened to it, you know, and you know, I wouldn't call my, you know, I'm not a person that's poetic really, but I can
We
really
all have our
feed,
talents.
but I can really feed off of it from you, you know, and it really ignites something in me, you know, and I love hearing poetry from other people, you know, but you know, my expression is through music, you know, and you know, we all have our beautiful ways of how we express, you know, and like, but you know, again, I've got ideas, you know, I'm thinking, okay, down the line, I'd like to, you know, maybe get this person to come in and do some poetic stuff over top of a bit of piece of music, you know, so there's all these things, you know, that are in me, that are channeling in a way inside of me, you know, already I'm sort of like, yeah, I
And
can
that's
see, I
joy,
can,
that's fun,
yeah,
that's play,
yeah, and that's play, and I
right?
can see the things that I want to play with, you know,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's important. That's what I mean. That's what creativity. Everyone has their own
yeah,
talents.
mm-hmm.
You know, it takes it is an art to actually come and create and co-create with others. Whether if you're going to come and make a track and produce, to be a producer, that's a creative endeavor. That's a creative skill.
Yeah.
You know, so you know we all have our talents. Not you know.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got to find. We've got to find a bit of art in our lives and express it. And the more we do that, I think the more we live more fulfilled lives, because the more we can express ourselves through art and live an artful life, then I think there is something beautiful about that. Really is.
Yeah, really fulfilling.
Yeah.
It fulfills your soul. Really.
Yeah. And I think others
That's what it does.
benefit from it too,
Of course.
because
Yeah.
you know that's what I find about when I write poetry is I don't really do it for others. I do it for myself. There's something that takes over my body, and there is this feeling, this overwhelming feeling that comes in, and I'm in this sort of flow state of creativity. And and my pen won't stop writing until I'm done, you know, until
Wow.
it's finished. And you know, when it's done, then I'm able to sit back
Yeah.
and look at it.
Yeah.
And then I can kind of fine tune it from there. Because once you've created it, it's there now. Then you can fine tune it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a painting, you know, you start painting it and then you saw it in your mind's eye and it starts to take form, and then you start to do the more finishing touches towards the end, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the main thing is there, the image that you
Yeah.
envisioned is there.
Is there, yeah. It's again,
Yeah.
it's like you said, being that flow state in the present moment, you know, just yeah. And then what you have from that is then you can then add, you know, the other parts, you know, that you want to add to it as well. So yeah, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing, you know, when you get hit by that sort of that inspiration that goes on within, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because the word inspiration, you have spire and the spiral again inside
Okay.
that word.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw it like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Spire, inspires to inspire,
Yeah.
spiral. You're
Yeah.
getting to spiral in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that,
And
yeah,
it is like a spiraling in
spiraling in.
when you start to create. It's like a vortex. What
Yes.
you're creating is like a vortex. And that vortex creates this sort of charged field that you're creating it. And through that creation, people are able to look at your art and be inspired by that. So then that you're passing on inspiration then. It's not just like it's there just on paper or whatever
Yeah.
medium you're expressing it
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
It's then there
Yeah.
for others to take in. And
Yeah.
this is why I find I don't go to you know, these kind of modern art museums, because I don't see anything worth being inspired by.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it seems to be the most dead art, if you can even call it art, really, nowadays. If you go to the Tate or whatever, and you look at it, yes, it looks impressive, maybe in terms of its, what do you call it, in terms of its size or whatever. But in terms of what it actually does for your soul, for your heart, when you look at it, it doesn't really do anything. It's like looking at something you can't really relate to. You know, art has got to be relatable. If it's not relatable, art has got to express something that most people can relate to, but hasn't been given an expression. Does that make sense? You know, that's original art. That's what I call authentic art.
Authentic art. Yeah.
You know, when you look at a Van Gogh painting, you know, and you look at the sunflower, for example, the way he uses light in the use of colors is incredible. It's incredible. It's inspiring. It's beautiful. You know, yes, he's not doing the fine art. He's got his own style, but it inspires you. There's something about it that moves you. You know.
And it's funny you mentioned Van Gogh, because I actually watched a little video podcast the other day about Van Gogh. You know, and he was a man that suffered, you know, tremendously from depression, and yet he managed to, you know, have this creative, beautiful expression that was being put onto canvas. You know, absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
It's his life was a beautiful tragedy. There was so much beauty in his life, but he used his tragedy and his depression to express his art. And though he didn't see the fruits of his labor, you know, or didn't earn or reap the fruits of his labor in his lifetime, he left a legacy. You know, and everybody knows who Van Gogh is. I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
who doesn't know of Van Gogh?
Van Gogh.
You know? Yeah, Van Gogh. So, you know, and he was a great philosopher as well. Van Gogh, and
that'd be along with like William Blake as well. Another one, William Blake. You know, who Michael Tsarion talks about as well. Yeah.
Yep. And again, you know, art is a form of expression of love. Right?
Yeah.
That it comes back to love. Beautiful art has love in it. And that's how it ties into love, and it ties into the divine, because you're ultimately going into that divine part of yourself. You know, and that's something that, you know, Vincent van Gogh always says, I am seeking, I am striving, I am in it with all my heart. It's a famous Van Gogh quote. Yeah. So and the thing is, sometimes you know, he talks about how normality, here's another quote, normality is a paved road. Right? It's comfortable to walk, but no flowers grow on it.
Yeah.
And there is something beautiful about this. This all comes from love.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And again, if one truly loves, he says also in one of his other quotes, if one truly loves, how does it go? Let's see, where is it? If one truly loves nature, one finds beauty everywhere.
Yeah.
Again, that's a state of love.
Yeah, and as you shared that, it's
Yeah.
almost like my heart leapt at those words, you know.
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I mean, he was a beautiful man.
It lights me up inside, you know.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
yeah, it's things like this. We have to, these greats have left us inspirations and have left us clues to
Yeah.
keep that love alive in humanity. Real, true love, not the love that we've been given by Hollywood,
Yeah.
right? You know, because love, it's terrifyingly beautiful. There's something terrifying about it too.
And unpredictable.
It's
Unpredictable
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it can be painful.
Mm, mm,
And that's
mm,
the thing. Love has love encompasses all the feelings, really.
mm,
But in the
mm,
end, it's all about love. Everything is
mm,
all about love in the end.
mm, mm,
Because why have evil there in the first place? Is to temper that love
mm,
and to give it a more crystalline form for us to see it clearly and feel it clearly. And
mm.
I think that's why we have the, I mean, I want to say it. I think that's why we have the elite and why they're here. I mean, if we didn't have that challenge in our lives, you know, else are we to learn to love ultimately?
Yeah.
Because we've got to see what we're not.
Mm. That's it.
And I'm grateful to them.
Mm.
You know, and I don't care what people say. I mean, they'd be like, "What? How dare you?" You know, they're the enemies. Yes, but aren't you grateful to your enemy? You got to be, because your enemy teaches you how
Yeah.
to be you,
Be
how to
you.
not be your enemy.
Mm. Yeah.
And it also teaches you about the enemy that you have within, which is the ultimate enemy. You know, and
Mm.
once you learn that you know all these things are outside projections of
Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
when you overcome that, when you're able to see it clearly, you see your soul clearly. And
Mm.
that's where true love comes through.
Mm.
You know, it's tempered in that, in the forge, is forged in that fire.
Mm. Mm.
Yes, it burns. Evil is horrible. It's terrifying. You know, to those who are not, you know, able to love themselves. But once you're able to see its horrors and its terrors,
Mm.
you're able to start loving more.
Yeah.
And that love overshadows, and not overshadows, it integrates the shadows and
Yeah.
swallows those shadows up,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Mm. Mm.
And then there's nothing to fear,
Mm.
you know,
Mm.
because you know it's
Yeah.
horrible what goes on in the world, and this is an evil world we live in. We live in an evil world.
Mm.
Maybe that is part of the experience. Maybe that's what we've come to experience. We've come to experience evil so that we can learn, and our souls can learn to love
Yeah.
truly, and really know what it is
Mm.
beyond any shadow of doubt,
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
and how to uh live in love and live with love. I think that's truly living from the heart, or living with art. You know, or living with the beloved, as the Sufis like to call it,
Yeah.
becoming one, becoming a
Yeah.
mystic, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
becoming one with
That's,
nature.
I mean, that's a beautiful, beautiful way you put it, you know. Thank you for that, you know, and I just hope the viewers get something out of this, you know, wonderful, beautiful talk that we've had here tonight, because it's just been a free flow. None of this has been planned, you know, and I've really enjoyed the conversation. Really enjoyed it. It's been a beautiful conversation,
Likewise, Kelvin.
Ahmed.
Yeah.
And one of the things I just wanted to mention before we sort of bring this sort of podcast to a close, really, is about Carl Jung and the Red Book, you know, as well, because as he was talking, that sort of came to me as well, because there in that, you know, you can see about pouring out the soul, and also
Yeah.
it was also the pictures even within that as well. You know, what a I think that book's quite a lot of money now. I think the original book now, but
I think it's about 400, 500
yeah,
pounds for
yeah, yeah,
one of
yeah,
his the original ones are
mm,
probably more expensive, but just to
mm,
get a standard copy is about 300, 400 pounds. It's
Wow.
not cheap. It's not a cheap book.
Mm,
And the
mm,
reason why they're that pricey is because, uh, well, let's put it this way: there's people very invested in not not making it widely accessible for people, and there's a reason
mm,
for that.
mhm,
And for me, when I started reading that book and glancing at it and starting to kind of see what material he's written in there, and
mm,
I want to actually sit down and read the whole. But I want to get the physical book because I can't do PDFs on really big books like that. So eventually, I will
mm.
invest,
Yeah.
that much in and get the book itself. But
Mm, mm,
from what I've gleaned at it from so far, you know, uh, he certainly must have taken some mushrooms or psychedelics to write that book. There is no way he would have come to those conclusions
mm,
without altering his consciousness.
mm,
Let's
mm.
put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Mm,
But that's my personal opinion. Obviously Jung would have made sure that nobody found out because he was a very respected scholar. And
yeah,
but yeah, the Red Book is incredible. I mean, you could do several videos and podcasts just on that alone. I mean,
wow.
it's so profound, and we
Yeah.
owe a debt of gratitude to Carl Jung,
Mm,
um, and the other greats as well. But Carl Jung did a lot of great work for us, and has really kind of given us uh, a kind of manual, really, for our psyches
mm.
that nobody else was able to unearth as much, and advance as much as he has, um, from all the other greats. So yeah, really, thank you for mentioning that as well.
Yeah, it just sort of came to me as you was talking about all the art and stuff, and yeah, I just thought I'd share that one out there. Yeah, I mean, maybe one day I might be able to get a copy myself, but I've been lucky enough to hear some great podcasts that have been sort of shared on it and
Oh, there's
videos
plenty
and
out
stuff,
there. Yeah.
and it's been beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's
Yeah.
it's moved me, absolutely moved me. I might put one, I'll find one and put underneath for people to listen to and stuff as well. So yeah, just what can I say? Amazing chat. Thank you, Ahmed, for your time. And looking forward to you, coming back next month and joining me again. I absolutely love these chats. So yeah, looking forward to the next one, brother. And is there just sort of any last words you'd like to share before we bring this podcast to a close?
Um. Well, I like again to finish off with another poem, if I may, as well from this book,
Absolutely. That'd be
because
great.
I've started reading it. I really thought, I probably might do actually a presentation on my channel
Mm,
with this book
wow.
because I think there is a lot of crossover
Mm,
between East and West in terms of spirituality,
yeah.
and more notably Neoplatonism and Sufism. But uh let me find it here. So it was the voice there was a voice There was a voice that sounded in men and women, in mountains and in seas, in the beasts of the jungle and the swinging of the stars. It was the voice of love, the great beckoning in the hereafter to which all things must go. That voice, to the Sufi, was God, calling his lovers into one chamber, one mighty love feast. Jami has expressed this finality of love in the following lines. Gaze till gazing out of gazing grew to being her I gaze on. She and I no more, but in one, undivided being blended. All that is not one must ever suffer with the wound of absence, and whoever is in love's city enters, finds but room for one, and but in oneness union. So, yeah,
Thank you for
the
sharing that.
duality becoming one.
Wow.
But it's still a duality.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for ending on that. It's a great way to finish this podcast. And yeah, I felt again very moved by that. So thank you, brother, and thank you for your time. And yeah, look forward to seeing you next month for another deep discussion or deep dive, as we call it. And yeah, just I just love this talk tonight. Because it just was literally just we came together beforehand, and it just flowed the way that it flowed, and I love that. Sometimes they're the best chats. So thank you, brother. Thank you.
Indeed, always a joy. Always a joy and an honor, brother.
Thank
Nice.
you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much love to you.
Much love.
Much love.